All right, so we're technically live now. See the pretty little background I found for you?
I like it. It's pretty. I want to live there.
I know, it's so pretty. And I was in Tucson. I'm like, it's so pretty here, those sunrises and those, sunsets. And I'm like, we don't get this in Ohio.
Really?
Um,
Ever?
well, they're just not as pretty or as vibrant. Um,
Gotcha.
but thanks for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if anybody isn't familiar with Reverend Kayla, you're actually out of New York, and we get to snag you a few times a year
Yeah.
to
My
come
home away
do
from home.
shenanigans. Right?
My Ohio home.
um, right. And you specialize in reading and healing, but from a whole kind of different and unique perspective. So why don't you fill in anybody who
I guess
hasn't met
so.
you yet?
It seems normal to me. I don't know.
Well, of course, your own kind of weird is going to be normal to you,
Right.
but to the
I got
rest of us.
I got a couple of decades in the game, so yeah, it's my normal. So yeah, I do work a lot with other planetary beings or aliens, as most people refer to them. Um, work with a lot of different guides and angels, and just from different realms and dimensions, things like that. But I definitely do a lot with other planets, other universes, galaxies, and other beings, as far as channeling to help people with vibrations and frequencies and that kind of thing. That's definitely more
Awesome.
on the spiritual level of healing versus like the medical, mental, emotional parts of healing.
Okay, so this isn't something like, gee, I just found out I have cancer. Come get the aliens to take it away.
It can. That's part of healing. Is looking into it to see if it's tied to a past life, like if you have a cancer or another terminal illness or genetic issues. Are they tied to a past life? Are they tied to another existence, being, a realm, a dimension, or even another planetary existence or being that you might be aligned with or connected to? So sometimes it can be tied to an alien, basically, or a lifetime. As weird as it sounds, it's hard to explain until you experience it.
Okay. So, there seems to be like a huge uprising of especially young people right now with anxiety. Is that something that can be maybe tied into past life, visitors, all of the above?
Absolutely. Yeah, all of it. Media and kids more than ever are on social media right now because they're home and online and constantly getting flooded with things from the media. On a physical level, that messes with your neurotransmitters, which cause issues with depression and anxiety and like OCD, ADD, things like that on a physical level. But that exposure can also affect them on a spiritual level too, an energetic level. So yeah, definitely healing can definitely help kids with that kind of stuff, or teenagers,
Okay.
adults for that matter. Um, I know a lot of kids are having a hard time with the separation right now from seeing their friends too, and that there's definitely ways you can help them alleviate that energetically and clear attachments, which I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with, but they're kind of like energy drains, and we all tend to form them with people. And kids tend to have them with their friends because they don't get to see their friends. So they might seem more headachy and more moody and, irritable, and besides the depression, but helping them with the energetic connections to their friends, that can definitely help them get through it and kind of mellow them out and have a more even emotional status.
And that's something that you can help kind of mediate, take care of.
Yeah. And that's not all necessarily you know, tied to the aliens. It
Right.
very well can be, as there's a lot of younger generations tied to these other planetary places. However, a lot of it has to do with the physical here and how the media is, that's a lot of energy being put out every day between news and social media and what everybody's saying or feeling and thinking. It's constantly being shoved down our throat. And that's a lot to handle as an adult, let alone an evolving, developing child or teen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I've even noticed about myself, I used to love reading and I'm trying to get back into reading.
Mm-hmm.
And authors and series that I've always loved, like I was having a hard time even sitting down and enjoying them because like it felt like there wasn't going on to keep my attention. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. That's because of always being on the move and having to keep up with everything. And you know, you have to learn to kind of slow down again and
Right.
detach,
It's funny you
you
say that
know.
because I was just saying how I haven't read. Like I'm usually reading like 4, 5, 6 books at a time, and they're all sitting
Mhm.
there stacked up, and the bookmarks are still in the same spot. I have some that I'm more like studying basically, um,
Mhm.
and those are just sitting there with all my note cards in them, and just in a pile. And I sit down to look at them, and I just can't like, I can't focus on them. And it's stuff that I used to
Mhm.
just get so easily. Like I'd be up till 3 o'clock in the morning reading because it was just easy, and I got captivated and sucked in, and then where's the time go? And now I pick up a book and I'm like, huh, I don't know. It
Yeah.
just feels weird to be sitting there, and you feel
Yeah,
like you
it's
should be doing something else. Like I'm wasting my time
exactly.
holding this book.
Exactly. And it's learning to step out of that and refocus and be able to enjoy and not be running around with 6 tasks on the list. And as you do one, 3 more pop up.
Right.
Um,
I noticed that definitely a lot more with adults. Like kids are kind of in this groove of, especially up here anyway. I think you guys are kind of back to school, but we're still doing a lot of the online school. So it's like they kind of have their, I don't know, their program going on, and us adults are taking on extra tasks because we have kids at home and we have extra things we need to do, or working from home. So that takes away being able to go home to get away from work.
right.
So I've definitely had a lot of people dealing with that as far as, um, trying to cope. There's got to be different ways to cope because there's no escape from anything anymore. We used to kind of have a boundary between work, between going out, between home, between our kids, between our spouses, and now we don't. It's one big nest, basically. Um,
Mhm.
or as my friend calls it, we're living in a plate of spaghetti.
Yeah. Almost like the taco that keeps falling apart.
You know,
Um,
there's a third time that's come up, so we might have to talk about tacos. So in the last 2 days, so yesterday and then today, tacos have come up like a whole bunch of times, and crumbling taco shells. So clearly there's something going on with tacos and taco shells.
well,
Oh my gosh.
since you're going to be at Goddess Elite here this weekend, we might have to go find tacos.
I would never say no to that. you know, I would never say
But
no to Mexican food at all.
so if you're in the area and you've seen Kayla before, this is the time to come see her again since we won't be doing the winery this June,
Boo.
2021, just because of, I know that's what everybody's saying. And I'm like, I can't help it. There's no way to control those
Right,
masses
right.
because it's such a
Well, they
big.
were controllable to begin with, so they're definitely not going to be now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, Laura's joining us, and she says to go to Barrio, and Barrio is very good. And Joan is with us. Hello, Joan. She said, I thought I had a good day today with tater tots, but this is better than the tater tots. Aw.
Awesome. Oh, thanks. That's love right there. Thanks, Joan.
Right.
Hi, ladies. Hi to both of you.
So, so what could be like some common, simple type of reading or healing energy work that would benefit like tapping in with the aliens? Because I mean, that's so unique. That's not something that is just anybody can do it.
And I don't see it that way. I'm just like, oh, that ringing and that high pitched squealing in your ears. What do you mean you don't hear?
I
Like,
hear it, but it's tinnitus because that's listening to heavy metal too loud as a teenager.
you don't know what they're saying? Come on, listen. But they really, essentially, that's how I work. Is everybody hears that ringing, or definitely when it comes to other planetary beings and aliens, it's more um high pitched like metal squealing or frequency like electronic sounds. Some people get super, myself included. I know we actually laughed at me for this. I get super sensitive to being around electronics, like even light switches. When I'm getting a quote quote upgrade from my other planetary friends, because I don't work with just the ones that I'm aligned with. I have to obviously work with everybody else's, just like I do with gods and ancestors and deities and all that. I have to be able to open myself up to these other places. And so when I get these big upgrades, I can't even stand being by outlets or light switch, and it just makes my head feel like it's going to explode. So I know other people get that on a different level, or will wake up in the middle of the night with their ears ringing and screeching and don't really know what to do with it. And a lot of times that's a sign that they are trying to reach out to you, or they're trying to help you. Yes, there are negative, dark, yucky aliens, just like there are from any species or beings. But a lot of times, if they're coming specifically to you, they are trying to help you. I know they keep you awake, Melissa. They keep me awake too.
Not cool, aliens, not cool.
Right. They try to work on our schedule. But you know what? Honestly, I'd rather have it when I'm trying to sleep than when I'm trying to drive, because that gets really confusing too and kind of makes your head spin. But I forget where I was going with that. I was thinking about you talking about new aliens coming in, and I was just like, my mind was just totally wandering off with it, because I'm kind of excited to come check it out. But it definitely, there has been a lot more of it, for sure. A lot of people that never really noticed it before, never had to deal with it, are kind of like, what's going on? I don't understand what's happening right now. And that's what it is. A lot of times you just need somebody to translate it, just like not everybody sees spirit, not everybody hears spirit, your past loved ones or angels. Not everybody can see and hear and feel that. And I feel these aliens and these other planets. Sometimes it's not even necessarily the actual being. A lot of times it's just another place that you are aligned with, or that your vibration matches up to, or your frequency, just like a realm or dimension, basically. Mm-hmm. And unless you align yourself with those parts of you, you're going to feel off. You're not going to be able to get grounded. That's another huge thing I've been hearing lately, is that people can't get grounded no matter what they're trying. Well, that's why. So there's kind of a thing, I call it universal grounding, versus just grounding and putting your roots into the ground. You really have to ground yourself to universal places, other galaxies, other universes, not just ours sometimes. And that's all per person. So that comes up in readings too. It'll guide me how to help you. And that's all very individual. That's not like, I can't just encompass everybody into one big group and be like, okay, we're going to work with all of these and all these frequencies and all these beings, and this is going to work for everybody, because it's definitely not like that. It's very individual.
So Joan asks, can the aliens or beings be a guide for an extended period of time?
They absolutely can be. And they do switch out a lot too. Very seldom do I see them work with other, I don't know if you'd want to call them races, or like they're, zones of galaxies. I feel like races and things like that just they don't really exist in other levels besides the human level. But there'll be different, forms of these beings, and you can. Did I just lose you guys? Oh, I thought I just closed on you. Sorry about that. But they can absolutely be. They'll step in and work with you for a while, and then they can rotate out. And I don't really see them working very often as like teams with other forms of aliens. They'll usually come in their own groups. Like if there's three from one group that want to work with you, they will come together. But I very seldom see them work all together at once. Even with the healing, if there's a couple that want to come through from different places, they will basically wait in turn. They're usually pretty polite about it. They wait in turn and then do their work. It's like they all want. The big note here is, it seems like they understand the value of giving each individual their own time in their own work. Where in our human culture, we tend to overrun other people and other situations around us because we're too busy and too occupied with ourselves or what we think is best for us. Where when I work with these other beings, it seems like they really value being able to step back and be like, okay, it's their turn. Okay, now I'm going to do my work. Okay, where does it overlap? And they really take their time to allow that work to step in. So that's a huge reason I really enjoy working with aliens, is they totally value time and space and energy.
Okay, so I know, because I've known you for a couple of years now, that you work with many different beings, not just the Palladians, not just the Arcturians, the ones that we all hear about all the time
Right.
from,
It's not fair to the
TV.
other ones. I hear it all the time. It's not fair. We never get talked about. You hear about your
So,
reptilians and your grays and your like these normal, you can't see me,
yeah.
air quotes, normal aliens, my little air quote. But there's so many different kinds that just aren't, I mean, they're not all humanoid forms. They're not all reptilian form. Sometimes they're just like orb looking, and sometimes they're more just a holographic glow of different colors. There's a planet I deal with a lot that they're more, the closest human thing you can relate it to, or Earth thing, I should say, is like sea anemones. And when they feel threatened, they're a very peaceful planet. And when they feel threatened, they just kind of like suck themselves in. They have like all these little fingers and they just suck themselves right in and just hide until like danger passes. So they're really cute. It's orange and purple. But a lot of times they will show colors, they will show symbols, they will let you hear them and see them, but they don't really give names like we're used to hearing. Like you said, your Pleiadians and Arcturians and all these, like, I don't know. If you ask them a name, they're kind of like, what the, like, why do we need that? Like, it just doesn't make, like, there's communication between frequencies and vibrations and feel. A huge part of it is if they want to convey how they're feeling instead of explaining it, they make you feel what they are feeling personally, individually. So there's not the communication, the verbal communication like we have and we're used to.
Is it more like an empathy communication or telepathy?
Yeah,
Or
kind of a combination of both, really. It's like they can still, you can, well, and that's kind of how I receive the messages from them, is hearing and feeling it and then being able to transfer it to the person. And a lot of times they don't work directly through the person, or the people start to get headaches and like you are having sleep issues, things like that, because you kind of need a filter. And that's where I come in. I kind of become that filter in between to kind of implant the upgrades or the energy where you need it and how you need it versus just being plopped into you like they try to do. It's just kind of, I guess, why they put me here. And they're not letting me go back home. Darn it. I keep trying to earn my ticket back home, but, you know, right. I'm still stuck here for a few another years.
So, like what are some common, I know you just mentioned like little sea looking ones. Like what would be like another common one that you find helping quite often that's not your typical Palladian, Arcturian, and
so actually I've seen these a couple times, and my mom, who grew up Catholic and doesn't want to believe in them, but now does, because we've
how
seen
that
them
works,
several
those
times.
moms.
Right. We've seen them several times at our land, like actually just manifest, like very boldly just manifest in front of us, and it's like, oh, hi. They almost look like a Q-tip. There's no, it's like just a body, like a single-ended Q-tip, and they're white, pearly, sparkly, metallically kind of glowing. They almost like iridescent, like angels look a lot to people. Like a lot of times your guardian angels will come through very sparkly, light, pretty. We all know I don't see the archangels that way by any means, but your other light, fluffy angels, your pretty angels that come through, they have that same presence and that same overwhelming calming feeling when they come through. And they're definitely protectors and scanning and clearers. They kind of like to come in and, if there's a lot going on or bad things going on, they like to kind of come in and brighten things up and lighten things up. But they really are like this, they kind of look like a swab. It's just like this round pearly head, this like oblong head, no arms, no legs. It's just kind of the stick that moves around. It's kind of interesting, but they just kind of hover and move. But they definitely feel super peaceful when they come near you. Yeah. So there's those, the anemone ones. I see these purple, they're kind of like a neon purple, I guess is the best way to explain it, because they kind of glow and vibrate. It's really hard to explain. I wish I could like just project these all out for people to actually see them. But they're almost like an amoeba type thing. They like change form, like flubber. Like if there's purple flubber, they kind of like change shape and they do these things, but they carry, I see them a lot for physical harm for things. It's almost like they use that to kind of help seal and help people heal from actual injuries. Like you were talking about cancers and stuff earlier, they definitely step in when it comes to, oh, they're correcting me right now that they can change colors too. I usually see them as purple, but I'm also very drawn to purple. So that might be why they work with me specifically as purple. But I definitely see them coming in and almost feeling just like a lot of people pull like white light through them to heal themselves, or the purple flame. A lot of people will do that on a spiritual level. That's kind of almost what they do, is they almost kind of like glide through people to help clear and remove and heal, like deeply heal like harsh issues or wounds or cancers, things like that. If that's, where the person is with that. I mean, like we said before, the cancer could be tied to past life, this life. There's a lot of things. But if it's something that's tied to where they are from, they absolutely kind of slide through your body and help seal up all those areas and repair DNA, repair tissue.
Well, that's interesting. Haven't heard of them. I know that there are the like 8-foot ginormous looking grasshopper things or praying mantis things.
Yeah.
How do they help?
Those are pretty. I have quite a few clients in Alaska that deal with them. They seem very, I mean, I've never been to Alaska, but the several clients I have all had the same experiences with those. And laying eggs on them or in their houses, in their cars, and then having these horrible experiences that not everybody can see, but yet some neighbors can see and some can't. So I relate that to, where we're from, right? If you're not from there, you might not see them. Or if you're not tied to somebody who's from there, you might not see them. Where these other people, they'll be, this thing's following me around, or it's chasing me, or it's attacking me. I do see and deal with a lot of darker issues tied to them. Honestly, I haven't really had any that have come through and like, oh, hey, we're just here to help and be nice and make things better for you. Those I definitely see tied to some of the darker things that happen. They do tend to cause medical issues. They do tend to make people feel like they're going insane. I know a few people that were going to psych centers for it and just couldn't get past it. And that's kind of how they reached out to me and found out about me. And we were able to work through it. I know I just said that I haven't seen any good ones with those, but like reptilians usually have a bad reputation for being all dark, negative, evil. They're like the ultimate bad guys, but I do work a lot with light reptilians. Actually, they refer to themselves as the Light Reptilian Legion, and they look like the reptilians, only again, they're like more translucent, iridescent, sparkly reptilians. And they definitely kind of try to counteract everything that's being done by their bad counterparts. Just like we have our good and bad and all that.
Right.
But I haven't seen that with the praying mantis thing. Little fellas, they're pretty big.
They're not
but,
little.
No, not at all. No, they do make a lot of sticky nest places, and it's kind of interesting. I've had truck drivers. I've noticed a lot of truck drivers dealing with them too. So Alaska and truck drivers have been my main experiences with dealing with them. And they're stubborn.
I wonder why Alaska? Because
I never really took the time to look into it, honestly.
Like normally you're not going to find, I don't think you would find many praying mantis in Alaska because of how cold it is. So, trying to figure praying mantis here on this earth, we're only so big. Yeah. and they're not, I don't think they're found very often in Alaska. So why would the ginormous counterparts want to hang out?
We relate them to praying mantis, I guess, right? That's the thing, and is their temperature. And honestly, when I've asked to see where they're from, it does feel very cold and icy and just so.
Goes with their disposition.
Yeah. Cold-hearted jerk, that's all.
Right. All right, for anybody joining us in, because I see the numbers kind of changing around, feel free to ask Kayla about the type of healing work she does, anything to do with, the alien realm, because she does work with them to perform readings as well as healings. And Kayla will be available here this weekend locally to Goddess Elite. So
I will not make fun of you. There's nothing you can say that will shock me. I've been told that a few times. Like, I know people that have written books and they don't know how to translate like certain things because of experiences they've had. And I've actually been yelled at twice by 2 different people thinking I was trying to make fun of them or like joke about what they were doing. And then by the time I was done with the reading, they're like, oh, you actually understood. Like, you heard what I was hearing. You saw what I'm like, well, yeah, I wasn't making fun of you. But like dreams that they had, things like that, or they thought were dreams, I guess is the better way to put it. Experiences. Right. And So no, there's no reason to be. I know a lot of people are really afraid to talk about it. It seems like, I don't know, you hear rumors of things being released now on the media, right? Like they're talking about releasing information, blah, 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 from the government. There's much more out there, regardless of whatever they're going to share with you. So yeah, you're not crazy. I will talk with you about it. I will not call a psych center like your family might. It's okay. We can try to figure out where they're from, how they can help you, those kind of things.
So if somebody were skeptical, like, oh, gee, aliens, there's no healing work. There's nothing good that can come with it. Like, do you have a good counter for like, no, here's a good example of how and why it can help? And
really, without doing it and without somebody experiencing it, it's kind of hard to really say that, because it really is more of a feeling. Like I was saying before, like it kind of comes through you and they translate things that way, and there is no harm to it. Like the way I work, I don't allow things that are harmful to come through, period. So if it is going to come through, it's going to stop at me anyway before it can even translate or transfer to that person. So there's nothing to worry about on that front as far as something dark and negative or life altering for the bad to happen to you, because it definitely will stop through me, as I am the filter for it. But it's, I mean, one, you have nothing to lose by doing it. It's not invasive. It's not, there's really nothing to lose for it. But it really is an experience and something you have to feel. I've had plenty of people that doubt it. And then there's people that I haven't told. I will say that. There's people that I know were closed off to it. And I didn't tell them, like, I'm going to be including aliens in your healing. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And it's going to be tied to aliens. And then when they're done with the healing, they'll, I've had Reiki, I've had this, I've had that, I've done all these things. Why do I feel so different? This is so different. And usually that's when I tell them, so by the way, these little color things that you saw, or when you felt your whole body vibrating, or when you heard this, that was aliens. That was another planet coming through. That was aligning you with a vibration where you belong, not that Earth. And that's when it kind of clicks. So there are times I just don't tell people because I know it's what's best for them, but I know they'll also be really closed off to it.
kind of like the parent getting the kid to eat something new.
Right, exactly. I don't want the broccoli. But I mean, I do always ask if there's anything people are specifically closed off to before a healing, and if you absolutely are against it, then we can work around that. And they aren't part of every healing either. They can be, but if I'm working on certain things and they don't need to be, then they're not. They have other stuff to be doing. They're not trying to be invasive for the most part.
So I know that you can kind of look at people and tell whether or not they're from this planet.
I have a hard time looking at people and seeing them as human is the bigger thing.
I mean, would it be beneficial for somebody to maybe sit down for, a reading with you and be told, like, yeah, you are so not from here?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely changed. I do have some reviews on my website, but I also don't expect people to put that information out there. And I usually don't include names, but I try to have people fill reviews out just for that purpose, because some people don't understand why they don't fit in and why they can't learn certain spiritual things on their own, or why they don't resonate with any religion or other energy healing. Or energy healing sometimes makes other people sick. Reiki or different forms of it can make people sick without the intent actually being there. And a lot of times those people that aren't getting results, it's because they're tied to other planets and other galaxies and universes. So I don't know if that really answered your question fully or not.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody has been going through, say different healing for something, and it's just not working.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of times when things aren't fitting in, and no matter what you're doing just isn't working, and you still keep having these things going on, it goes beyond angels, it goes beyond ancestors, it goes beyond spirit, it goes beyond these things that we typically deal with, and it's tied way far above us and around us. So same with realms and dimensions. I have people that I've worked through and it's made substantial changes for them as far as even being their own, being healers in their own businesses and things like that, or their own readings, because they didn't understand how to ground through a realm or ground through a dimension that they belonged in, or ground to other planets and galaxies like we were talking about earlier. And when you learn how to do that, and you work your way through that, now you become actually what you're supposed to be, right? If you're not doing that, you're blocking out who you are. Just like trying to block out being a normal, like I shouldn't say normal, a typical healer. If you block it out, it's still going to resurface, or you're going to get held back if you don't do it. We've all been through that, where we stop, we try to ignore it. We're like, oh, I just don't feel like doing this right now. I'm going to take like a 3-month hiatus, and it doesn't work that way ever.
Right.
So a lot of times when people get to a stop, or they, maybe their clients aren't noticing the results they used to get, whether it's readings or healings or even clearings. It can happen with people that do space clearings. A lot of times it's tied to these other higher places that you just need to adjust yourself to. And basically it's an optimization. It's attuning yourself to these places, just like you would get like a Reiki attunement or things like that. You're tuning yourself to another place so they can help you optimally with your work, or just yourself.
So you've referenced angels a couple times. Now, there could be the argument that because angels aren't from the planet, that they're aliens in and of themselves. But what exactly would be the difference between alien races?
And I would agree with that. I think there are times angels come through and it's like they're just like appeasing the human population by being like, I'm an angel because you recognize this, and you're going to cry and go hide under your bed if I tell you I'm an alien. So there are times I do see angels and aliens. I feel like that could be the next movie. I think there's like, what, Monsters and Aliens? There could be like angels and aliens for the next one. But I definitely see they both work very similar as far as working through you versus just always messages, and making you feel things versus just translating things. Telepathic, empathic. But yeah, they definitely have a lot of similarities to them. And I do see like archangels, I don't really see as, I guess the way they're projected by modern sources, like these pretty colors, and it's like I might carry a sword and I might carry this, but I'm like, look at me, I'm nice. And I don't see them that way. I see them, and the first time I really started seeing them, I was like, holy crap, what did I just get myself into? Because I see them as these very ancient, heavy, dark looking, very intense, strong forms, but they're absolutely here to help. But they kind of come with all their muscle and all their primitive strength, which ties back to pre-Earth. I mean, way before Earth. Earth's a pretty new place. We're just kind of here on this like new planet, new kids in town,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to like, change everything around us, and that's not really how it works. There's been long established places long before we were here.
Now, I know there's been like
we know everything.
There's old text where some of these angels have 6 different faces, 3 sets of wings. Mm-hmm. They're not the Adonis romance cover models that are portrayed. Is that how you see them?
Yeah, they change a lot. Yeah. And I'll see them like seamlessly transfer from like one to each. Like, I work with Metatron a lot, and I see him very strongly tied to, other galaxies and other universes. Like that's how he communicates to me too. He doesn't really talk. He like vibrations and frequencies, and he's very, very intense. But I'll see them seamlessly I don't know if you want to like call it transmute, but they'll just like switch to like another one. Oh, you now need Michael. Oh, you now need Uriel, and they'll just like totally just transform and switch like right in front of you, without like, okay, you can leave. Okay, next one, come in. They just kind of like morph into the next one.
It's funny. I was getting ready to ask that. I was talking with somebody about how really they're all the same being, and you just get that one part of that personality that you say you need, or that you're used to and comfortable. Because I always joke and I laugh and I'm like, I am so tired of Archangel Michael being the savior of everything.
Yeah.
Like there are others, so I'm like, just go pick up,
I feel like he kind of feels that way too. Like I tell people that's one of, like when I work with people as far as mentoring, that's usually one of the first things I get asked is like about protectors and the archangels, and what about Michael? Like everybody uses Archangel Michael, and I'm thinking like, the poor guy would probably like to put his feet up on a lounge chair like once in a while, instead of getting called in because you lost something, or you're having a fight with your ex, or you're like, he has other stuff to do. Like, yeah, he heals, yeah, he's a protector, yeah, he guards us, but there's tons of other sources for that. You have your own protectors, you have your own guides, you have aliens, you have all these things that'll help you. You don't have to always call forth the archangels for things. And not in an arrogant way. There are things that are higher power than archangels that are willing to help too. They just get ignored because if you're going to sit there and always call forth the same archangels, the other guys are just sitting back and, well, here we go again. They're like the, fourth string football players hanging on the bench. Like, we never get a chance to do our work. We're just sit here and play water boy today again. And like, there are a lot of times that things from other realms, that's something I definitely work with. I'm not sure if that's different or not. I guess you know that better than me, but I work more from when I like encounter issues with somebody. I work from those planets. I work through those realms, from those dimensions, that kind of a thing. And so calling in angels might not necessarily mesh with what realm or dimension or planet you're working on or with for somebody's issues. And so it kind of really doesn't do anything. It's like, kind of like doing an exorcism in a house that might have native issues on a native burial ground. You're kind of just going to upset them. You're not really going to help anything. You might make it okay for a little bit, but you're forcing something else down its throat, and that's not going to make anybody happy. So I definitely work through and ask what teams, like when I see there's an issue tied to, let's just say, a dimension for something, I always ask what the team is that I need to work with to help that person, and who is that person's team to come through and help them. So there might not be any angels, there not be any aliens. It might be a completely different entity that comes through.
So what would be higher than the angel then?
So I don't, and this is my personal experience. This is just how I see it. I don't see them comparing themselves that way necessarily. Like, yeah, in our level of things, yeah, there's things that are higher than that. Like, we see it as, but these angels are like almighty, and God is almighty, but there's multiple gods. They see themselves as just having different, we have plumbers, we have mechanics, we have these things. So it's like they all have their specialty. And I more see them as energies, basically, I guess, entities, but they don't really have names either. They just come through as, like, I see Merlin come through a lot for people with different, when I work with different dimensions and realms, he comes through, but he doesn't always look the same either. And there's times he's more powerful than angels will be for certain situations. Mm-hmm. So in those situations, that makes him higher than the angels because that's what he is meant to do. So I guess it's not fair to say, when I said that earlier, it's not really fair to say that there's always something higher than angels. It more depends on the work to be done or the message that has to be received or the specific person.
That's funny because like in the shaman training that I do, it can sound deceiving because they'll say the third level and the fourth level. And yet in reality, they're equal and they just operate differently in how they do the work. But yet it'll be referred to as a level, and that almost always implies one's higher or better than the other. In reality, it's not. It's just different ways of doing it.
Right.
So Jeff has a question. Says, okay. This is so cool. Thanks. Is an overdose similar to a suicide in that they are own lower realms?
So that's kind of a loaded question. That could be a whole topic in itself. And just rereading it again, rethinking it a little.
Yeah, and that there are our own lower realms. Oh, we lost her. She'll be back, guys. She was having some technical difficulties. So while we wait for Kayla, I guess I'll throw my 2 cents in on it, and hopefully she'll be back quickly. So sometimes, the overdose can be on purpose and can be the suicide. And if you ever happen to watch the Wednesday mornings with Marianne and I, so sometimes people that are actually going through addictions, and they're in treatment, they're in therapy, and they're meaning, that they're going to stop, they're never going to do it again, and they absolutely mean it. But some of these rehab centers can be full of spirits that will kind of help perpetuate. Yay, Kayla's back.
Sorry. Apparently there was like I'm like sitting ready to talk, like, what the heck just happened?
Right. But it can be a lower energy, and I have found sometimes that depressions and stuff all feel lower and can help feed into that. And so sometimes it's hard to get out of that lower energy for people. So, but absolutely, I would say sometimes an overdose can be done with the intent of causing the suicide. And
Right.
then sometimes there could just be other factors. But now that Kayla's back, go with your answer.
Well, I don't know what all you discussed while I had to apparently go disappear. I was not
That's what you
abducted.
get
I'm
for
still
skipping
here.
out.
It's like, we're going to make her really think before she answers that question.
Right?
Let's give her a
You
rundown
had
quick.
time.
It was so weird, like getting ready to talk, and it was just like, oh, no? Okay, bye. It closed down the whole Google thing, too. It wasn't even like just that like tab. It was like the whole Google just shut down. So, but I do also see both of those things tied to past lives a lot of times. Somebody that may have not fulfilled their path with addictions or even abuse or helping somebody through addictions. I also see that tied to stillbirths and miscarriages a lot. All those things tend to come through to me a lot in a group. Walk-ins, I've seen 2 cases specifically that that somebody committed suicide or overdose. Like there was one of each. And that person ended up being a walk-in for a baby who was in the hospital. It was actually the overdose person that ended up being basically a walk-in for a baby that was in an incubator in the hospital. And that's what saved that baby. So like, yeah, they overdosed, but it saved their sister's baby. So there's kind of, so that's kind of where there's that borderline of, yeah, it was a bad thing and it was a lower energy and lower place, but a good thing came from it. It was a sacrifice to save another being, a newborn being. So I know that makes it more complicated. Which
Well,
I'm
now you
not
just
trying
opened
to
the door
do.
to walk-ins. So you
Right.
might as well address that.
I know, this is why my mind not really, like, I don't know that I ever sleep. My mind never really stops because all these things are constantly going on up here or around me. So like, yeah, there are lower, how is that worded? Like lower realms for things, but there are times it is tied to something somebody can't even necessarily control, or therefore are exit points. So now we have walk-ins and exit points.
Stop adding.
I can't help it. This is why every reading and every healing is so individual. And there's like, especially when it comes to healing, there's layers and layers and layers of it, because you can have these exit points, but if a walk-in comes in before your exit point, and I just had one recently happen, like it was a really close call. But these things can all tie together. And so until you actually work through them per individual and work out these layers and the kinks that are going on in their lives, it's so hard to, explain it and give details about it.
The walk-in, very interesting. So why don't you explain what a walk-in is for anybody that is probably wondering, but don't want to type the question out and then, fear that the rest of us are like, ha ha, so-and-so doesn't know what a walk-in is.
I will yell at them for you.
No bullying on Kayla's live.
No. Or else I will send you a virtual slap. Anyway. I guess I can pick on myself for that, as I had multiples of them because of my medical issues. But a walk-in is essentially a soul that leaves a body and that can come back into another soul to help save its life or help carry on. And then your missions can, again, that opens a really big topic. Your missions can totally align themselves. Like if you both had the same path you were working on, but one was, say, killed in an accident or from an overdose, and now they realign with this other person that's going through the same thing. Now it's a chance for both of them to try to like work it out. I personally used to have blonde hair and gray eyes. I know, not that you can't tell, but I have dark hair and brown. Well, my hair's kind of a rainbow right now, but naturally my hair is dark and I have brown eyes. And when I was younger, I had a near-death experience. Well, I flatlined and came back. And ever since then, I've had brown eyes and dark hair instead of my German-looking gray eyes and blonde hair. But here I am, I'm alive and kicking. And it's because of that walk-in. And I've had 2 other instances of that happening. So, in a sense, I guess you could say walk-ins have angelic work. There are times, though, walk-ins can no longer serve a purpose to us. Like if we have fulfilled that mission, they might still want to stay here because as odd as it sounds, you might have actually had similar soul groups and similar friends and just not known it. And so when that person passes, they might want to stay here to still be able to see, their human interaction with people.
They have a vested interest now in reality TV happening
Right.
in front of them.
Right, exactly. But there are times you do have to remove these walk-ins because they're no longer serving that purpose for you. And that'll hold you back, just like having attachments from, your mother-in-law or, your sister. So when they're no longer serving you, they can definitely hold you back and cause issues for you. But for the most part, most of them are here to help while they can.
Right. So is that something that would possibly be planned? Like, I'm sure you've heard of the whole theory and belief about, your sole purpose, your plan, you decide what you're doing before you come down. Then there's the other side of the fence that says it's all absolute chaos and you learn what you learn. If you screw it up, you got to come back. So, do you find that either one's correct? And if it is more of the sole purpose and you plan it out, are the walk-ins planned?
I do see some of them being so again, I'll pick on myself for this, and I think I've had a lot of these experiences just because years down the road, i.e. now, I would be living with them and helping people through the similar, situations that I've had to go through. My mom, when she was pregnant with the baby before me, had a very late term miscarriage. I'm very aware that it would have been a boy. She wasn't so sure. She actually had to, really dig into some things to find out. But I knew for sure that it was a boy, and she was pregnant with me very soon afterwards. And I just always knew that part of that spirit, that soul, was a walk-in for me and help protect me. And that can happen for a couple of reasons, just not being ready to come back, or because, they want to help make the next one stronger, things like that. And it doesn't have to be a baby either. There's different circumstances for that. But some of it is very much planned. I do fully believe that was planned to help me do my work, to align us both, basically. And let's face it, I'm pretty much a tomboy. So I always joke with my mom, because she always says, you turn out to be a pretty good son, because I'm always working on things or outdoors and whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's probably partially because of your would have been son. Like, he's kind of here. So, but I do think a lot of times it is pre-planned to help. But I've also noticed times where accidents happen, right? There can be really significant car crashes where somebody passes and another soul can step into that. And so there are instances where it is just an immediate, where do I go? What can I do? I'm not ready to leave yet. And they can jump into another person. Or, if there's two people in a car accident and one dies instantly, that soul can absolutely be a walk-in to save the person next to them.
Now, how is somebody, if you thought that you were a walk-in, like what could be signs that you're a walk-in? You're not the original inhabitor of the meat suit.
The meat suit. That sounds so Lady Gaga. Picking up different traits, different dialects. There's people that, like, somewhere in their life, I know some friends that have done this themselves. You kind of pick up like an accent. You're like, why do I all of a sudden have this, like, I say certain things like with a southern drawl, and there's no reason to. Change in food. Like, I don't mean just like one day you like bananas and the next day you really don't, but like fairly substantial changes in food taste. Just maybe you were kind of cold-hearted before and, just out to get people, things like that. And all of a sudden now you have compassion, you start opening an animal rescue. Like, those are, when there's a lot of times when there's a drastic change and you didn't go through therapy and counseling and work on these changes and they just kind of happen. I always say I want my next walk-in to be skinny, because what the heck, no matter what I do, weight doesn't go anywhere. So I'm like, can the next walk-in be a skinny one? That would be awesome, with a really good metabolism, because I like pizza. So
me too.
So, things like that, I definitely see tied to traits of a walk-in happening to somebody.
Yeah, I'm not coming back. So
no,
there's going to be
either.
I'm done with this planet.
We can totally have a DNR, like a spiritual DNR. Like we have a DNR for like, if you're in the hospital, but there's like a DNR my soul body. Like just let that go. I'm not like, no, not happening.
No, do not reincarnate. That's what my DNR
Right.
stands for.
Exactly. I'm out of here. I'm like leaving burnout patch. I'm just gonna be like done. There's gonna be like smoke behind me. Like she's out of here.
Like I came, I saw, I was not impressed. I'm done.
I didn't care to conquer.
Oh, right.
I tried. It was just no.
-5 stars. Do not recommend.
Right. Would not stop here again.
By roll up the windows, lock the doors, drive on by. So wow, it's almost been an hour already. Time flies when we're having fun. So if anybody has any questions about what Kayla does, how she got into it, or sub questions of anything that you may have already heard us say, feel free to ask. And while we wait for those to come up, we'll just kind of reiterate. Kayla, you're normally out in New York, up in the Lockport area?
Yes, Lockport. So I'm about like 40 minutes from Buffalo.
Okay, which is why it's drivable that we can snag you a few times a year.
And I like coming there too. I love coming to Ohio. I've made a lot of friends there thanks to your shop. This coming weekend. So if you're watching this on a replay at some point, check the website, see when she's available. Because I'm going to say, as we're live right now, you will be available this weekend. So you have private healing and or readings available this coming Saturday, and I think you're already booked up to like 3:30. Oh, really?
So,
I was going to check on that. I didn't know if I'd be able to see it or not. So.
Yeah. So
I know there's a lady I met I think it was at the winery or one of the times I was at your shop a couple of years ago. I can't remember where I met her. I have to think about it. But she's actually coming from Michigan.
So, how fun.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's exciting to see her again. Because it's been, I think, 2 years since I saw her last. I don't know. Time flies, like we just said. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
No winery or anything fun happened last year. So it would have been, going on 2 years. Time flew, and that one wasn't because of having fun.
Right.
And then you're going to be with us as part of our psychic fair.
I am, because I invited myself.
You're like, I'm
Sorry,
doing it. I'm like, well, fine. Geez, pushy.
No,
join us.
Well, if I'm going to come, I want to be in the fair so I can be in the fair, right?
So Diane wants to know how late you'll be here on Saturday. So right now we have it open through at least 5, but she can probably take people up until 6. So
that's up to you. She's the owner.
Yeah,
she owns me for a weekend.
So right now, and hopefully this doesn't drop me off the screen by switching. So Saturday, scroll over. Actually, we have from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. Actually, I'm sorry, I have you open up until 6. So 3:30 to 6 is available. And you can book that on the website on the Reader Healer page. And I think, Kayla, do you have the link on your site as well, beyondearthhealing.com?
Yes, it should be on there. It was working last I checked, but I can definitely recheck and make sure. But yeah, it should be up there. It's also on the Facebook page and on the Instagram page. So.
Okay. So where can they find you? They can find you at what? Beyondearthhealing.com, your or not your Facebook, your website.
Face. Yeah. you like stuff. Your face.
This is like my second live already today, and I'm trying to keep everything straight.
That's okay. So yes, beyondearthhealing.com is the website, and then on Facebook, Beyond Earth Healing, and same with Instagram, it's beyond_earth_healing. So
awesome. And you can do distant work if needed. So if they're not in Ohio and they're not in New York.
Yes. Like the Alaska people, and I have some people, I have people all over. I have quite a few people in Canada, Virginia. They're all over the place.
Look at you being all international. Oh. Stop bragging.
I am not that one. Didn't we have that conversation a couple years ago that we're not going to market ourselves international because everybody says we're international psychic medium? Right. And that's how the intergalactic, like, I'm intergalactic.
Right. Haha, suck it. I'm intergalactic.
So maybe I should start playing that Beastie Boys song.
Oh, you're going to get hit with copyright. I was just talking with Marianne about that this morning because she's like, "Oh, the Ghostbusters." I'm like, "I do not have the finances to go up against whoever owns Ghostbusters and
No.
their music rates."
Right.
um, yeah. So if there's any last minute questions, otherwise, we will let Kayla, because I know you've got a couple of appointments coming up a little later here in about an hour or so. And I hope that the noise of the pallet coming in didn't
Oh, I
overshadow.
didn't even hear it. Oh, that's the other thing, because you were talking about me. You all have to go check out Melissa's new stuff that came. Oh, Goddess Leaks new stuff that came. I'm excited to see it.
Oh, the Tucson
I
stuff?
mean,
Yeah, like I
I'm
started a
pretty sure I'm
table
gonna go home
already.
broke. Just saying that. I'll just count this as a counterproductive trip because I will probably just go home broke. So yeah.
Well, hopefully next year we'll be back to normal, and
Right.
be able to bring back bunches and bunches. But yeah, whatever I could squeeze in my carry-on and everything, we're working on right now. And there's already a table set up. There's a pallet of the glass candles kind of coming in to help replace what we've been out of. But the Tucson shipment is already supposed to be dropped off tomorrow. So the
Yay!
next few days will be a lot of crazed, impossible late evenings of getting all of that out because this Sunday is our psychic fair. So I have to have all of that put up and away and cleared to
Oh
set
my
up the
god.
readers and stuff. So if by Sunday I look a little
I will
just
sit on a box
crazed
of
in it.
crystals. Actually, I won't because we know that they make me kind of dizzy if I'm on them for too long or around them for too long.
Oh, and I have Moldavite in store. So if you're watching live and you're looking for Moldavite, we've got Moldavite.
And a
So
lot
come
of it.
get
I
it.
saw that. Like, whew.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised, and it's good stuff. And then if you really ask, I some of the other pieces I picked up are some of the original pieces that came out of the mine. They're heavy, they're big, they're expensive because of course Moldavite's by the gram, and it just keeps going up right now. But
Right.
if you are a avid collector and you want a real nice original piece, I have 4 of those.
Nice.
So yeah,
We have
but
all the special, all the good stuff, all the rare stuff.
you know,
And that being
it's all
said,
that.
oh, sorry.
No, I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say that's the fun of hand picking out all your stuff.
Right.
You know,
Well, it's so
walking
fun
around
going.
like
Right.
flashlights and magnifiers and,
Like
and like
check
let me
everything
look at
out.
that.
How does it make me feel? Well,
They're like, this is real
I just
Moldavite.
got
No, it's
motion
not.
sick.
How do you know? Because I don't have a headache when I touch it.
Right. And that motion sick out of nowhere. I'm still gonna just drop down. But yeah, so anybody up this way in the Lockport area, Western New York area that's looking for anything specific, check out the website and I can absolutely bring stuff home. So place an
Yeah, there's
order,
gonna
order through
be.
Melissa or me, and I can bring it home. I know I'm
And
bringing
we're
home some
gonna.
t-shirts and what am I t-shirts and I forget a couple crystals I'm bringing home for sure already. So
Yeah, yeah. So and there'll be a live coming up. So keep an eye on YouTube, our Facebook page and stuff. So there'll be a live coming up. Probably tomorrow, maybe Friday, we'll see. Showing all the new things, and if you want to claim it and buy it, you can during that time. But I've got to get some more stuff unpacked, so it'll be fun. But all right, I think we're no more questions. Just lots of fun's going on here. But so Kayla, we will see you Friday evening and definitely Saturday in the store. So if
yay, I
you're
can't wait.
come see
I feel like
Kayla
it's
on
been so long. I used to come there every
Saturday.
couple months and it's been like forever.
I know COVID has been a jerk, man. Sucked the fun out of everything that we've all been wanting to do. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks for hanging in there. Stop in and see Kayla this weekend, even if you just want to meet her in person and kind of feel her out. You don't
Bring
have to get a
hair.
reading or
Always
healing
cool.
on Saturday because you can always test her on Sunday. Test the waters with Kayla on Sunday.
Yeah, poke, prod, test. Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully now that things are lightening up a little bit, hopefully I can go back to my coming back every couple months. So even if you stop at the
Mhm.
fair and then decide you would like something more in depth, we can either do it remotely or, wait for the next time I'm coming back. So
That's right.
because I do have a list of people that I've met through your fair that are just like, let me know when you're coming back because they'd like to work together, but they would definitely want to do it in person. So they get a priority list, and those are the people that get to book first. Basically, when I come there, they all get the priority email and get their
First
choice
dibs.
first. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Kayla. This has been fun.
Thanks, everybody.
And
I
we'll
don't know if
see
everybody
you
can see me.
guys.
I don't
Yeah, we'll see everybody this weekend.
know. All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.